What's up, YouTube fam? I'm the Giga Dad bringing you a submachine gun tier list for Modern Warfare 2. Sim.gg released data mined weapon stats for all the guns in the game, and I've had the opportunity to level them all up, so I feel confident bringing you guys an informed tier list. If you don't know who I am, I was primarily a Warzone player. I led the world in various points in kill-death ratio as well as win rate, set numerous world records for win streaks and kill counts. I currently have the highest overall win rate in the world on the Fortune's Keep map, and I was the first in the world to 100 wins in a row on that map. I don't consider myself the best player, far from it, but I am fairly accomplished in the scene, and I do a lot of research to back up my opinions on the game. I live stream over on Twitch if you want to check me out. I'll have a link to it in the description of the video. So let's get right into it. I wanted to start by demonstrating that the sort of mid-range, low recoil SMG options are currently pretty terrible in the game, so we'll just get them out of the way. I included the 74U, which is an AR, and it just obliterates these low recoil SMGs at every range. I'm using the average TTK, time to kill, generator using pretty forgiving shot percentages. If this was for me, I'd put more accurate shot placement percentages, and if you want to, you can go generate one of your own. I just wanted to use forgiving percentages so that they'd be generalizable to like the majority of the player base. But even if we tweaked these TTKs would remain relatively consistent. But yeah, the 74U, it's just better at every range than these other guns. So currently with their less than ideal TTKs that are outclassed as well, if we look at the P90, the PDSW, it has much worse ADS times than the other SMGs, like for no reason. The Hurricane, this is actually pretty bad for an SMG2. But yeah, most of the SMGs are around 200 millisecond ADS time. So like with the P90, you get terrible TTKs and a terrible ADS time. So it's a trash tier gun for me. It's the worst sub in the game. They're gonna need to buff it. The Hurricane and the Vel aren't much better. They do have low recoil, so they're not going to be hard to level up. You can beam with them, hit all your shots, pick people off headies. But unfortunately, they're just outclassed, so they're all going to be in need of a buff. Next, let's look at a couple of SMGs that actually have decent range for an SMG, and that's the Mini Bach. It's like the Bison. And as you can see, it extends, its first damage range extends all the way out to 13 meters. So you're getting a sub 200 millisecond average TTK all the way out to 13 meters, which is, it's really strong. The other one is the Vaznev 9K, which has kind of middle of the pack TTKs, maybe even on the lower end for an SMG, at least out of the aggressive subs. And that one's first damage fall off is at 10 meters, so it extends out pretty far. It has really controllable recoil. I've seen a lot of people running it in CMG wagers and tourneys, but I think it might be a little bit overrated. There's still a couple of better options. And then lastly, the AUG SMG, the MX9. It's got good TTKs, a good first damage range out to 9 meters. But then it kind of steeply falls off. And another thing about it that's really bad is I think that this was an error. I think they meant to give these sprint to fire timers to the STB 556, the AUG AR. Because yeah, if we compare this to the other SMGs, every single one of them has a 110 millisecond sprint to fire timer. So that's basically the delay after sprinting to when you can start firing, which if you're trying to be aggressive, which is the whole point of using an SMG, you want this number to be low. But for whatever reason, the MX9 has really bad handling stats. So I think that was just an oversight on their part. And I know the STB 556 has sub 100 milliseconds sprint to fire timers, so maybe they just accidentally switch those. But yeah, in its current state with this sprint to fire timer, it would be an okay SMG. But with this high of a sprint to fire timer, the MX9 is also an F tier gun. We'll go ahead and throw the Vaznev in B tier just because, I mean, if all the CMG pro players are running it, we can kind of trust like there's something about it that's separating it from the pack. And we'll put the mini Bach in C tier. I actually love the damage values on the mini Bach, but if we look at its ADS times, for whatever reason, it gets a 260 millisecond ADS time. And like I was saying earlier, if you look at the other SMGs, they're all around 200 milliseconds. So this, for whatever reason, it gets a poor ADS time. You can try to lower that with attachments, but I think that's just going to make it kind of a middle of the pack gun. I love it though. It might be my favorite SMG. If they give it like a little bit of a buff, it might be the first sub I run in Warzone 2. I like mid-range oriented subs, so it's a good gun. I think it's just outclassed, unfortunately. And then finally, we'll check out the close range shredders. So if we scroll down to the TTK chart, the best TTKs in the game, this should come as no surprise, the Lockman sub, the MP5. It gets a 165 average TTK all the way out to 8 meters, which is actually pretty far out for a sub. This is well beyond like barrel stuffing ranges, and you really shred people. I mean, these are like the best fully auto TTKs in the game. 165 milliseconds out to 8 meters. Falls off steeply after that, but you really want to be using this thing aggressively. And they did give it the necessary like ADS time and sprint to fire speeds to where you can actually abuse that lightning fast TTK. So it's definitely an A tier gun, and there's like, they gave a reason to use it, which is it's really, really fast TTKs. And then finally, a gun that I think people are sleeping on because it pretty much dominates the SMGs, the other SMGs, and that's the Fennec. Extremely fast fire rate, so it's going to be forgiving even if you miss a shot or two. And the TTKs are very comparable to the Lockman sub, only 6 milliseconds slower on average in the first damage fall off, but then it gets extra range. It gets an extra 4 meters in its first damage range and has less fall off after that. Much less fall off. It also has like really easy to control recoil. So I think just overall the Fennec is just like disgusting right now. Yeah, it's got really fast ADS times. It also has a low sprint to fire timer, so there wasn't any outliers there. And as you can see, this RPM, over 1,000 rounds per minute, is quite a bit faster than the other SMGs. So you chew through ammo, but generally it is good to have a high fire rate like that because the upside is that even if you miss a shot, you're still going to be able to attain really close to those TTKs that we were showing. So the practical TTKs are usually faster. So that's going to be our God tier gun.